Who is in your Premier League 2020/21 team of the season? That's what I'm asking Gio from Hammers Chat today. Gio, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Enjoying the sunshine, but it's getting a little bit too hot for my Scottish skin. So it's a bit cooler today, so I'm happy for that. I'm relieved. How about yourself?
yeah, I'm not too bad. Lovely weather. But yeah, you just wanted to just calm down now. But you know, it's done. That's all right. Get back to some normal weather that we have around here.
Have you wore that T-shirt to annoy me?
To be fair, I bought it this morning. I'm not gonna lie. I bought it this morning. I thought, right, the Euros. I gotta get some sort of thing in there, and I thought, oh, shall I wear it? Shall I not? Oh, I might as well.
I respect it. I respect stuff like that. So fair play to you. And yes, it has annoyed me. So mission achieved. You can tick that off your list today. Well done, Jake.
Thank you very much. But without further ado, let's get into it then. Firstly, sum up West Ham season for us.
It's been fantastic, hasn't it? I thought if we could finish in the top half, we'd have a really good season. We finished in Europa League, which is unbelievable in August. Slightly disappointed with how the season ended, given we were in the top four for so long. But you've got to look at the context and the bigger picture, and that is it was a wonderful season. And a lot of players had really good individual seasons too. Sometimes, a few years ago, you can look at the success of last season at Upton Park and almost attribute most of it to Dimitri Payet. You can't do that this season, which is really good. Hammer of the year, everybody's got a different player. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can pay this squad, really, Jake, that not one player was better that much than everyone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. And this season, it's just been a whirlwind. Not a fantastic start. Then we get to November, December. Think, oh, we could get used to this. And then February we beat Spurs. We're like, oh, hello. And then we trailed off a little bit, but we still managed to get onto Europa League. Absolutely fantastic that West Ham tried their hardest to try and mess it up, but we still managed to get Europa League.
Yeah, it was a fantastic achievement. It'll be good for the club as well, and especially the fact that we go into the group stages is a big difference because we've obviously qualified in the past and went out in the playoffs, so we never really got proper European football. But now we've got at least 6 European fixtures next season. In the way the group works, 3 of the 4 go through in some form, so it's going to be difficult to get knocked out in the group stage, actually. So there's possibly going to be at least 8 games for us next year in European football, it's fantastic, really. It really, really is. I'm excited for it already. We've still got the Euros, but I'm already looking forward to West Ham playing European football.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be amazing, that is for sure. But before we get into your team, Gio, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this series, the Blowing Bubbles magazine. You can check out their link in the description down below, and if you use the discount code JakeCox, where is it? There it is at checkout. You can get £5 off a 11 magazine subscription. So check it out using the link in the description, and that will help the channel out as well. But we'll get into your team then, Gio. We'll start in goal. Who've you gone for?
I've gone with Emi Martinez at Villa. I think he's the obvious choice, really. I didn't really have to think about this one. The only other one that came close was Massilia of Leeds. I think he's going to be a top goalkeeper. But this season, I think Martinez has just been absolutely class from the word go to the end of the season as well. Some of the saves he makes is worthy of, Champions League stuff. I think he's a top goalkeeper, and I wanted West Ham to sign him a year ago, so I'm a bit biased because I've always liked Martinez, but 20 million looks like a bargain for him already. It looks like Villa have done really good business there. Great season from him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. Most people are putting him in this side, and they bought in these really good players. Aston Villa. They bought in Ollie Watkins from Brentford, Emi Martinez. They've got a really good squad there, and of course Jack Grealish and those type of players. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little bit of a gamble when Aston Villa bought him from Arsenal. £18 million. He could flop or he could be fantastic, and he's been fantastic this season. That's for sure. In many people's team of the seasons. But we'll move into your back four then. We'll start at right back. Who've you gone for?
Oh, it's got to be Soufal, isn't it, Jake? I don't think there's anyone that comes close to him this season, actually. I think I'd be surprised if 90% of your participants don't have Soufal at right back. He's been unbelievable. Even if he cost 20 million, you still put him in at there. He's only one game, I remember in this season, only one game he struggled, and that was against Man United, so there's no shame in that. And that wasn't because he played badly, it's just because Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford played really well. But that's how good you've got to be to beat Soufal over 90 minutes. You've got to have 2 players top of their game for the whole 90 minutes, and then you might just get better than Soufal. He came up against Zaha, Grealish, and the likes, and you kept saying, when he first come to West Ham, you kept saying, is this going to be the game where he falls a bit short? But he doesn't. He steps up, he handles his opponent, and he does really well. And he was sort of man of match contention a lot. And I think he'll be Ham of the Year, actually. I think he will. He's not my vote, but I think he will win Ham of the Year. But that's an obvious choice, Vladimir Soufal, I think.
Yeah, completely. What a man. £5 million. There's nothing more you can say. We'll move into your centre-backs then. Who's the first of your two centre-backs?
We'll go for the obvious one. Again, most people will have him as Ruben Diaz coming at Man City. Man City's trouble, if you like, has always been defensively. They've always been able to score goals. They've had lots of goal scorers, but defensively, they've always been a little bit suspect. He's come in and sorted a defence right out. Probably the signing of the season for me, actually, because I think he's been the difference between City winning the league and City not winning the league, essentially. And John Stones was sort of on his way out of Man City. You put him next to Ruben Diaz, and John Stones looks world-class. Laporte looks world-class. And it's a bit like Ogbonna for West Ham, that sometimes defenders are just better when they've got someone next to him that is that good. You know, Dawson on his own. I know you love Dawson. I nearly picked Dawson, but I left him out. He's close. But Dawson with Ogbonna looks superb. Without Ogbonna, I don't think he looks that great. And the same for Diop. And I think Ruben Diaz is probably the best example of Ogbonna in the Premier League, if that makes sense. You could probably play next to Ruben Diaz, Jake, and you'd be beating Harry Kane for headers.
I'm not quite sure about that one. My massive 5'1" might not quite make that, but you know.
Oh, you'd
you never
manage
know.
it. Next to Ruben Diaz, you would manage it. He'd have to lift you up, but you would get there.
Well, there you go. But yeah, these players, they're rocks in the defence, helps everyone else up, that's for sure. And is probably in 95% of people's teams. And the one obvious one, Rusted is a couple of days ago, and he didn't pick anyone from the greedy six. So obviously he couldn't put him in there, but pretty much everyone else is in there. Who's gonna go alongside him then? Who's your second centre back?
I was stuck between two, not Craig Dawson. I was stuck between two. Konsa, who I've obviously not gone for, and Wesley Fofana, who I have gone for. I think he came over with such a big reputation, but he'd only played a handful of games in France. So I was a bit suspicious. I thought, how can you pay such big money for someone? I think he cost about 20 million and played 20 games. You were paying for £1 million for every game he played in France. So I thought that is a huge gamble. And we were linked with him quite a lot as well. That didn't go through for whatever reason. Leicester went and got him. And when Leicester buys someone, you sort of assume they're good. It's just the thing. And Leicester wants someone, they must be good then, because Leicester have got a good record. So he's come in, and I think he's just a fantastic player. And I'll be surprised if he's at Leicester City in 2-3 seasons' time, unless Leicester get into the Champions League, because it looks like he's ready for the top already. You know, I've always been a fan of Johnny Evans over the last 2-3 seasons. He's better than Johnny Evans. Soyuncu's had all the plaudits for the last 1 or 2 seasons after Harry Maguire moved on. He's better than Soyuncu. Unbelievable centre-back for Fofana. Really enjoy watching him play as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, really set the Premier League alight this season, I think. And you know, whoever he's next to, whether it's Soyuncu or Johnny Evans, they seem to have a really good centre-back pairing there. But who's going to round off your back four? Who have you gone for at left back then?
I'm going with the 90% again, but Luke Shaw. I think it's an obvious winner for the left back spot. A couple of years ago, it was sort of he was almost finished to some extent. He had big injuries. He looked overweight, kind of thing. He still does look a bit chubby, but that's just the way he's built. But he's been superb at left back. He's gone from sort of like almost what Danny Rose is currently, not quite that bad because he's got no club, but he fell down so far. But now he's England's left back for the Euros after such a fantastic season for Man United. I think he's been brilliant. Whenever I watched him, gets forward really well, defensively solid. He's fast. There's a lot to like about Luke Shaw. There's not much to dislike either. I don't like Man United. I hate Man United. And I don't really like England. But for some reason, I feel myself willing Luke Shaw to do well. I quite enjoy it. Do you know what I mean, Jake? There's some players that don't play for West Ham you want to see do well. Luke Shaw is one of them. I'm not sure why it is, but I'm pleased to see he's back to his best this season because he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's proved people wrong this season. As you said, he was finished, and then he's come back this season, almost like Jesse Lingard as well. Come back this season, come to us, and really set it alight again. But that's a really really decent back four. Then, we will move into your midfield. Who's the first of your two central midfielders then?
I'll go with Mason Mount. I think I've always been a fan of Mason Mount. Always liked Mason Mount. And I think it's almost cool. There's some players in the Premier League it's cool to dislike. It's almost edgy to say, oh, he's not that good. And Harry Maguire is one of them players. I almost picked Harry Maguire for centre back. I think he's been fantastic. I think he's England's most underrated player, Harry Maguire. And I think Mason Mount's one of them players. He seems to be, I've got a lot of plaudits recently, and it's helped by Chelsea's recent form. But even under Lampard, I thought Mason Mount was Chelsea's best player. He's got everything. He gets back, he tackles, he gets forward really well, he's creative, he scores goals, he can play in a number of positions. I think he's had a superb season. And if I were you, Jake, he'd be one of my first names on the team sheet for England this summer. I think he's a joy to watch. He's a bit like the Luke Shaw thing for me, actually. Again, he plays for Chelsea in England. I should not like him, but I do. Maybe it's because Declan really likes him. I'm not sure. But I think Mason Mount's just had a fantastic season, Jake. I think he's been Chelsea's best player. You know, Chelsea bought loads of players for loads of money, and their best player came from the academy. And that tells you something.
Yeah, I mean, they bought in Havertz, Werner for hundreds of millions of pounds, but Mason Mount's been a standout this season, and it's scary, for England that Phil Foden, Declan Rice, Mason Mount in the midfield. Yeah, definitely going to be a good couple of years for England. But who's your second central midfielder then?
Oh, I struggled with this one, actually, because there's a few contenders. I feel like I should have had Bruno Fernandes in there, but I just hate Man United. I might have mentioned it. And I watched too many games where in Man U where he's gone missing, Fernandes, especially Europa League final. So it's sort of like, I don't really like him. And then you look at Yuri Tielemans. I really like Yuri Tielemans. There's been plenty of players had big seasons, including our West Ham boys as well. But I've gone for Gundogan because he won City the league, didn't he? I've never been his biggest fan, actually. I've always thought he's one of these players that he's a decent player, but what does he do? He's okay at passing, he's okay at shooting, he's okay at tackling, but he's not really world class. I've never found him to be as good as Kevin De Bruyne and Fernandinho, whatever. I've always felt the players around him at City are better than him, and I've always felt he was a bit like, I've never been his biggest fan in terms of ability. A top player, just not City level. But for 2 months this season, he turned into the best player in the league. He was scoring goals. He was up front. You know, he benched. Well, Jesus and Aguero was out, but we've seen Pep use the likes of Raheem Sterling or Kevin De Bruyne up front for, and he went with this guy and he was scoring goals. And it changed my opinion on him a little bit. And I don't think he was the best over the whole season, Jake. I think there was, Souček was a bit more consistent than him. However, that purple patch he had probably won Man City the title, and for that reason I think he deserves to be in there. Hesitantly, but he deserves to be in there.
Yeah, 17 goals. You can't ignore. I think with him this season, something around there. He's just done really really well on the goal front as well. You saw at Pep Alamere in the Champions League final. He played him back a bit, and it didn't work. They didn't, they didn't tick along. He needs to be playing up the pitch more for me. A fantastic season for him. We'll move out to the flanks then, out to the wide areas. We'll start on the right. Who've you gone for in right midfield?
Oh, I've gone with Mo Salah. It's an obvious one, really, isn't it? You can't really not have Mo Salah in the team. Again, I hate him. I hate Mo Salah because there's some players. I've got this theory about players, Jake. I've not said it before in a video, so I'll tell you on your video first. I've got a theory that some players, because of the way they act on the pitch, whether they give it that or they dive a lot, and Salah's one of them, I don't think they get appreciated for their ability as much as they perhaps should. I think Salah's one of them players. I think Zaha's one of them players. I think to some extent Jack Grealish is one of those players that, because they dive so often or they're whingy, you find it hard as a neutral to like them. And Bruno Fernandes is probably a really good case in point. In fact, I'm not putting him in my team. But I find it hard. I think sometimes there's a correlation between if they're liked and how appreciated they are in terms of ability. And I think Mo Salah, because he dives so much and whinges so much, I think a lot of people, ignore just how good this boy is. He's turned up, and he's not only done it this season, but he's done it the last 2 seasons as well. He's not even a striker, but he's scoring the goals of a striker. He's clinical. He's one of the best players I've ever seen in the Premier League, but I don't think he will ever have that tag attributed to him because of his diving. His cheating, unfortunately, stops him being held in high regard as other players, such as Harry Kane, for example.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Because I hate Jack Grealish. Just the way he's, I watched about 10 minutes of that England game last night, and he dived about 4 times. I just get up, for goodness sake. But these players, but it does overlook how good they really, really are. And I mean, I think I get them mixed up. I think was it Salah or Kane won the Golden Boot? I think one had 23, one had 22. You can't moan
Kane,
about that. It was Kane.
Yeah, it was Kane. But Salah's pushing. Salah's the second top goal scorer in the Premier League, pushing Harry Kane, who might probably become the all-time Premier League goal scorer. And Salah's up there with him every season. He's world class, Mo Salah, absolutely world class. But unfortunately, he's world class at diving as well.
He is. We'll move to the left-hand side then, and almost with the same story with your player over there. Who've you gone for at left midfield?
I'm going for the guy that you didn't like last night, Jack Grealish. I think without him, I think Villa would have been just outside the relegation zone.
Yeah.
Being honest with you, I think he's a joy to watch. I know he's a bit of a diving so-and-so, but I think he's clever at winning free kicks as well, which is something I've always thought about Mark Noble. He knows when to just almost stop and let a defender bump into him, and he goes down and gets it, kind of thing. But he's the most creative player in the Premier League. His chances he creates for his strikers are just ridiculous and stuff. And the difference between someone like perhaps Ollie Watkins making it in Premier League and Neil Maupay the previous year going to Brighton, not quite making it and stuff, or he's made it, but he's just not been as productive as Ollie Watkins, is having Jack Grealish in the team. There's not many players in the Premier League good enough to build your whole 11 around. Even these days, even at Palace, they're reluctant to do it with Zaha now because they've got Eze in there. They're like, well, if we build it around Zaha, we're going to lose Eze, kind of thing. But Villa still and should build their team around Jack Grealish. Whenever they get the ball, can you give it to Jack Grealish? Because if you can, something will happen. And I do think he should start for England pretty much in every game, because the difference between him and someone like Jesse Lingard is Lingard needs room. Lingard needs to play on the counter-attack. He needs a bit of space. Grealish doesn't. You can have 3 defenders next to Jack Grealish and he will still find a pass, or he will find a way around them. He's one of the best footballers I've seen play. And despite his diving and despite what I said about Salah, I really enjoy watching him play football, Jake, actually. Whenever I watch Villa and they're not playing West Ham, I want to see Jack Grealish get the ball, because I think at football, I think he's beautiful. And it's a really strong word to use to describe someone playing football. But I think Jack Grealish is beautiful at football. Needs bigger socks and shin pads, though.
He does. Yeah. Aston Villa, they do massively miss him when he's like, when he had that little injury in the season, they look a completely different side. They just look a little bit lost. And we could see that with Declan Rice when he was out injured. We weren't the same team, and all of these sides have got that one player. When they take it out, they've always lost their way, lost their heart of the team. And Jack Grealish is definitely that for Aston Villa. So that's the defence and the midfield done. 2 players left, 2 strikers. Who's the first of you 2?
We'll go with the most obvious one, which is Harry Kane. Everybody's got to have Harry Kane except Russ. Top goal scorer in the league, but not only is he the top goal scorer, the best goal scorer in the Premier League this season, he's one of the best creative players as well. I don't like the way he barges into people when they got for a header. He uses his bum to try and win a free kick, kind of thing. But creative, the way he gets on the ball, he links up with players around him. He's fantastic. He's better at attacking midfield than a lot of attacking midfielders in the Premier League, which is just silly considering he's a striker. I remember well before your time, Jake. It was a bit before my time as well. I can't remember which former Chelsea striker it was. It might have been Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. And he was doing a bit of punditry. And I don't remember what game it was. I just remember this phrase. And he was getting asked about chances created. And he said the best person to create a chance for a striker is another striker, because they know where their striker wants the ball. And it always resonated with me. And there's not many people in the Premier League I watch and think, all right, I see what Jamie Floyd Hasselbank's on about here. Harry Kane is very much one of them. He plays players in like a striker wants it. Best finisher in the Premier League. He's world class. I don't like to say it, Jake, but he is world class. He's world class as a striker, and he's also world class as an attacking midfielder, which is just a bit silly, really.
Yeah. Everyone that picks Harry Kane, I'm going to ask them one question. Will he go to Man City in the summer?
Yes. I think so. I think they need a striker, don't they? You need a striker. And there's only maybe 10 strikers in the world good enough for Man City. Harry Kane's one of them. The other ones, Haaland's one, Mbappe's one. But it seems a bit weird. Despite Harry Kane probably costing over 100 million, he's probably the cheapest option.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just gonna see in the summer who's gonna pluck up the cash to go there. We'll just have to wait and see. But for one striker to another, who's your second striker?
I'm going with Harry Kane's mate. I'm going with Son. It's partly because of Harry Kane, but the link-up play between them two this season has been unbelievable at times, hasn't it? If it wasn't for those two, Tottenham would be in a relegation battle. Their side, 9 of their 11 every week's been poor. They've not been good enough. Their managers haven't been good enough. But them two have turned up. And when they turn up, they are world class. They're unstoppable. And they sort of go hand in hand with each other. I don't think you can have Kane without Son. I don't think you can have Son without Kane, really, because they play so good. They're second in the league, I think, now for the all-time record for setting each other up. Only Drogba and Lampard's ahead of them. If Kane stays at Tottenham, they'll probably beat that record. If Kane leaves, Lampard and Drogba's record will remain. But Son is a world-class player. He's a bit like Salah, isn't he, Son? He's a bit like Salah and Zaha and Grealish. He cheats a little bit, and I think a lot of people don't like that. But there's no denying his footballing ability. Just a fantastic player all around.
Yeah, deadly on the counter-attack as well. Got that little bit of pace in him. Absolutely fantastic player. As much as we, Spurs players, it's just a bit, but, you can't not pick those kinds of players. But there's your team. Who is your manager of the season? Who's going to bring all these tactics together? Who's impressed you this season?
It's David Moyes. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I did not think I'd ever say that. I will say that. What I will say, though, is on the off chance you've got a Leeds United fan watching this all the way through to 20-odd minutes and they're a bit annoyed that I'm not included Bamford or someone, who I nearly did. But if we finished 7th, Jake, if we had finished 7th, I would have gave it to Marco Bielsa, because I wouldn't think getting 7th is better than getting a promoted side into the top half of the Premier League and playing the football that Leeds United played. But we didn't finish 7th. We finished 6th and qualified for the Europa League. And I think that is why I'll give it to David Moyes. I think to take a team from... I know a lot of people have said this, and it's true. We just survived relegation last season. But I don't think that's a true reflection of the squad that we had. I do think the squad was too good to be surviving relegation, if you know what I mean. I think last season we had a really bad season. This year we had a really good one. I think our true position as a club, as a squad, is probably around about 9th, 10th, 8th in the Premier League. I don't think it's good enough for Europa League, but I think it's too good to be battling relegation. So while he kept us up last year, I don't think... I know a lot of people said he did an amazing job doing it. I don't think it was that good, because when he came in, we were not in the bottom 3. He took us in the bottom 3 and got us out of it. But the squad was good enough to stay up. And I think you could have went to West Ham last season, Jake, and kept West Ham up with that team. He had players there that were worth tens of millions of pounds, and he got backed in January with Bowen and Souček. But to go from there to here with a change of mentality and stuff is unbelievable, really. And he's got a big job on his hands next season to sort of maintain those standards. I don't think he will. If you were to ask me for an early prediction next season, I'll say we might finish 11th or 12th because of the Europa League campaign. And if we take the European football seriously, I'll be happy with 11th and 12th, because I think that's a true reflection of our squad. But for this season, it's got to be David Moyes, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll somehow the official one I think is gone for Pep Guardiola. To be fair, I'm surprised they didn't even give it to Bruno Fernandes. They'll somehow manage to get him in there somewhere. But yeah, of course they've given it to Pep Guardiola because it's the big name. But David Moyes absolutely fantastic, and people say it pretty much in a year, in a season from relegation to European football. That's what it's been. So let's have a review of Gio's team then. Martinez in goal, back for a short, Diaz, Fofana and Vladimir Sufal. Midfield four of Grealish, Gundogan, Mount and Salah. And then the front two spuds of Kane and Heung-min Son. That's not a bad team, that, Gio.
Are you happy with it? Is there anyone you would take out?
Oh, God, that's a question. I'll tell you what. I'd probably see it's difficult because Mason Mount's had a fantastic season, but you've got to somehow get Declan Rice or Thomas Souček in there somewhere. I'd say probably take one of those out as good as Mason Mount's been this season. I don't know, but yeah, that back four midfield and Martinez, yeah, I'd be happy with that. Kane and Son. I mean, there's arguments for Patrick Bamford in there as you mentioned, but yeah, that's a pretty decent team that and with the Moyes sire as the manager, anything could happen.
Cheers, Jake. I appreciate that. Always good to have your stamp of approval on my team, minus Mason Mount. I'm sticking with Mason Mount. I think he's he's one of my favourite players in the Premier League. Actually, I think he's a top player and he's had a top season. And that team would win the league easy.
Yeah. Oh, it would. It would. Anyway, drop a like on the video, subscribe, all of that jazz. Go and subscribe to Hammers Chat because I'm sure all of you already have. And Gio, any last words?
Just keep up the good work, young lad, and I look forward to seeing your channel progressing as we get on, and looking forward to the content you've got coming next season when we get back into it. I know you've got this series going on, you're doing your West Ham stuff for the summer as well, but looking forward to see what you're doing next season as well, Jake. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. And we'll be back very, very soon. Come on, you guys, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye.